Part 1. Chapter 1. It's Christmas Eve. 50 minutes have passed since I last checked the mail. Well, that would be one Diet Coke, a half bag of Doritos, and a handful of grapes. It's not that I was hungry. I wasn't even interested in the mail. Just bored. And grazing, along with these little excursions through the muddy gravel to the mailbox, gave me something to do. I know I should be grading papers, but I'm only good for so many essays at a time on the contemporary relevancy of Emily Dickinson before my brain grows numb. The pewter light of what was supposed to be day had faded, and the perpetual fog had turned to heavy mist, though it's hard to tell the difference out here. I tugged open the mailbox to find the motherlode of junk mail. Scores of holiday grocery specials, a real estate ad, one ARP magazine, two going-out-of-business furniture flyers, and a last-minute donation plea from some church I visited once in July. It wasn't until I pulled them out that I saw the Christmas card tucked inside, my sixth for the season, if you count my chiropractor and insurance agent. The breezy scrawl and a stamped postage due, with a little red arrow pointing to 52 cents, meant it could only come from one person. It was postmarked Barcelona, Spain. I saved it for last. Best to let anger and self-pity fester in anticipation. Tucking the bundle under my arm, I lowered my head against the drizzle and sloshed back down the driveway to the house. Sigmund, our golden retriever, greeted me at the kitchen door like I'd been gone a week. His neediness was always a comfort and irritation. Like father, like son, Cindy used to say. It was supposed to be a joke, but we both knew better. Not that Cindy didn't have her own issues, but somehow we always managed to ignore them so we could focus more clearly on mine. I kicked off my shoes and pattered across the kitchen tile onto the living room carpet. Removing our shoes was something we agreed upon, but it never stuck. The dark path on the ivory-colored carpet, a testimony to our failure. When we first bought it, the light color seemed a great idea. No kids, indoor pets, responsible adults. Well, 2 out of 3 wasn't bad. Clenching his gooey chew toy and wagging his tail, Siggy followed me to one of the 2 recliners in the glass-enclosed alcove overlooking the beach. The tide was out. Through windows pebbled with mist, I could see the mudflat stretching into darkness. In 12 hours it would all be different. The bay would have slipped back in, raising my beached rowboat and lapping at stray pieces of driftwood. That was the beauty of living on the islands of Puget Sound. The scenery was in constant flux, not in great unforeseen drama, but in safe, predictable patterns. I noticed the cat had taken my chair. Again. "Carl, move." He didn't even bother opening his eyes. "Carl." I picked him up, all 16 pounds of overindulged, special prime-cut kitty fillet, and dropped him to the floor. Why he always chose my chair instead of Cindy's was a mystery, considering our mutual lack of affection. But mine clearly became his go-to daybed. And at night, don't even get me started on the under-the-covers turf wars for foot space. Still, I'd promised to take care of him until Cindy and her boy toy, 7 years her junior, got back from Europe and found a place. Ours was an amicable divorce. I snapped on the table lamp with its patina of dust and started through the mail. Not that I could focus with that card lurking at the back, but it didn't stop me from going through the motions of examining each piece one by one, a warm-up act for the main event. When the time came, I carefully opened the envelope and pulled out the card. It was a generic Santa Claus waving from a generic sleigh with a generic reindeer. The text was equally original. "Merry Christmas, Happy New Year." But it was the signature that got me. After all these months. "Love ya, Cindy and Buster." Buster. What a stupid name. I'm telling you, dude, she wants you. Sean's words from the faculty party continued rattling in my brain. I remembered scoffing and glancing down at the Merlot I held as a prop. Have you been out of circulation so long you don't know the signals? He said. Signals? My point exactly. I pushed the words out of my head and looked back into the bathroom mirror, where I'd been flossing. It had been 4 days since the faculty party, and I still couldn't shake them. Flattering? Sure, even at my age. And silly? Like being back in junior high. I closed the cabinet and started for the bedroom, then stopped just long enough to check my profile in the mirror. Even under my pajama top, there was no missing the slight paunch slowly gaining ground. All right, maybe not so slight, but the operative word was slowly. And slowly could be reversed. In the meantime, I lifted the pajama top and sucked in my gut. I shook my head. Definitely junior high. I barely entered the bedroom before my mind was back at the party. Sean Fulton, my associate in the English department, who sported John Lennon glasses and bow ties, coughed and glanced away. Here she comes. Good luck, partner. Before I could stop him, he disappeared into the festivities. Hi, Will. I turned, and there was Darlene Pratford, late 40s, dressed to kill, with more cleavage showing than a Norwegian fjord. Hey there, I said, careful to keep my eyes locked on her face. How are things in the biology department? My biology couldn't be better. She grinned, smoothing the dress on her thigh. How about yours? I coughed. It's hard swallowing and pretending to laugh at the same time. You okay? She asked. I nodded. She took another sip of her drink. By the color in her cheeks and the watery eyes, I'm guessing it wasn't her first. How are you? She said. Adjusting okay? Adjusting? You know, out there on the island, all by yourself. Holidays coming up. They say the first year is the hardest. Actually, I'm doing all right. Not too lonely? You get used to it. Well, if it gets too quiet, you can always give me a call. I could hop the ferry and we could grab some coffee. Compare war injuries. She took another sip. I could give you some tips on how to recover. As an experienced veteran of 2 divorces, I'm sure she could. We stood awkwardly amidst the holiday music and party conversations. Well, I stood awkwardly. I hate parties. I don't mind people. Despite Cindy's accusations, I like them. Well, mostly. It's just small talk that kills me. The superficial cliches. I'd take a deep, one-on-one conversation with anybody, shoe salesman or serial killer, over a room full of people speaking on autopilot. Which probably explains Cindy's mantra, you don't know how to have fun. There's a whole world out there just passing you by. As always, she missed the point. I like the world, but instead of mobs, I'd prefer experiencing it one person at a time. So, there we stood, my mind racing to find small talk, while Darlene continued on her own, not-so-hidden agenda. Rumor has it you're up for department chair, she said. I cupped my ear to better hear over the music. Some rapper's rendition of Oh Holy Night. There should be a law. Pardon me? Department chair, she repeated. With Seneca's retirement, they say you're next in line. Yeah, well, you know rumors. I caught Sean's eye across the room, smirking like Yenta the matchmaker. I think you'd be great. Really? Why do you say that? I wasn't fishing for compliments, just a little reality to anchor our conversation. I don't know. Smart, witty, educated. She took another sip of her drink. All the right qualifications in all the right places? Oh, hey, I said, there's Sean. Excuse me, I need to talk to him. Back in the bedroom, I shook my head as I pulled down the covers. Actually, I was honest when I told Darlene I was getting by. Well, on good days. And the others? A few weeks ago, I began feeling a tightness around my chest. I hate self-pity. People get divorced every day, but the tightness wouldn't go away. I originally noticed it when I sat at the Golden Fin sushi bar enjoying my first solo Thanksgiving dinner. Somewhere between the edamame and the spicy tuna roll, it grew harder to breathe, and things got no better. As the days turned to weeks, Christmas carols began to mock. Holiday wishes rang hollow. Each day grew just a little worse, and each night, well, thank God for Ambien. I peeled off my socks, folded them neatly on the dresser, and sat a moment on my side of the bed. Always my side. Finally, I slipped under the quilt and cool sheets, only to discover the cat had already taken up residence. "Carl!" No response. I nudged him with my foot. "Scoot over." Nothing. I tried again, but with the same results. Truth be told, his warmth didn't feel all that bad against my cold feet. So, instead of fighting, I slipped them under his massive fur-lined belly and reached for the light. "All right," I sighed, "but just this once."